This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about the power of helium, the recycling of props, and the evolution of pregnancy comedy. All that and more as we watch Season 8, Episode 5 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia. I'm one of your hosts, and joining me, as always, is my brother and your other host. What's up, Imran?
Yay. Hello. What's up, cousin listener?
What's up? Big
Hi,
day
sister.
today.
You know what's one of my favorite words in the English language?
What's that?
Penultimate.
Penultimate.
Meaning?
I was going to say joining me for the penultimate, but it might not be penultimate of this podcast.
No, it's
penultimate episode.
Penultimate episode of Perfect Strangers.
Meaning second to last.
Second to last. And it's just funny that there's a word for second to last. And,
penultimate.
And not like third to last or fourth to last.
There probably is.
Is
but
there?
But we haven't
also, I like,
made it common.
I like to say penultimate because I'm a child. It's just funnier. So, yes, amazingly.
Anti-penultimate.
What? Anti?
Is third to last.
Anti? But that means...
A-N-T-E.
Oh, E. Oh, so the before the penultimate is third to last.
And then...
Yeah, there's another one?
Do you want to guess fourth to last?
Anti. So if it's anti-penultimate, it would be...
What comes before?
Pre-anti-penultimate.
It is.
It is? No way.
Ding, ding, ding.
Get out.
Wait, there's one more.
There's one more for the fifth to last.
This one you might not know, but I feel like medical people might know this, or I don't know, like keep going. There's one more prefix.
I mean, what more can I do besides pre and anti? I'm running out of suffixes.
Fifth to last is
quint pre?
No, it's pro-pre-anti-penultimate. Pro-pre-anti-penultimate.
Oh my God, listener, we just learned stuff today. I had no idea that
we didn't say this for the last few episodes.
Yes, I had no idea that there's terms for fifth, fourth,
No, there's
third.
terms for everything. Like penultimate is just more widely known because we use it more.
Pro, pre, anti-penultimate was a while ago. We are at the penultimate.
Today is the penultimate episode of Perfect Strangers, but the anti-penultimate maybe episode of the Dance of Joy podcast.
No, it's not going to be the last episode of the Dance of Joy podcast, but it is the last penultimate rewatch. We've made it. Season 8, episode 5
Here we go.
of 6. Here we go.
We're here. We're doing it.
This one titled Up, Up, and Away, Part 1.
Because every season has a two-parter, and this one happens to be the series finale, Part 1.
One of the few things that they managed to keep consistent in this season.
And if you were to have read the TV guide about this episode, you would have read the following description. In the series finale, Jennifer hopes to encourage labor by riding in a hot air balloon, but Larry hasn't the foggiest what to do after the foursome ascends into the clouds.
Oh boy, what's going on here?
What is happening?
Here's the thing. The next episode is also going to have the same TV guide description, I believe. Because originally, this series finale of Perfect Strangers was aired as a 1-hour special. They played both parts back to back on the same night. But
it wasn't one long episode. It was still two episodes.
It was still two with commercial break and restarted.
Yeah.
But we are going to savor the penultimate because it's almost over. I'm going to give you just part 1 today.
Part 1 has our cast that we've come to know and love. Bronson Pinchot, Marklyn Baker as Balky and Larry, and then, of course, Melanie Wilson and Rebecca Arthur as Jennifer and Marianne. And they're now called Jennifer Appleton and Marianne Bartok.
Spouses. And interesting note about the director of this episode, his name is Jeffrey Gantz. He was a former associate producer on Laverne and Shirley, and his brother, Lowell Gantz, co-created Laverne and Shirley. Jeffrey Gantz also had directed episodes of Family Matters and Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Remember that. The Family Matters part is going to come in a little bit later.
We can appreciate a sibling duo that does creative work.
Just like the Lawrence Band, brother-sister duo. Love them. And you got another sibling
and
writing duo.
Us.
Yes.
This episode aired on August 6, 1993.
Man.
That was the day of the end.
The
of
summertime
Perfect Strangers.
finale, series finale,
When
both
nobody
episodes.
was watching.
When nobody's out. The sun is still up, probably. People are out playing in the park. Nobody's watching this,
Nobody's
guys.
watching
Sorry
this.
to tell you. But if you wanted to watch it now, right now, there's a couple places you can go. You can go to Amazon Prime if you want to give Jeff Bezos some money. All the seasons are there. If you don't want to give Bezos money, he's got plenty. Go to Plex.tv. It's a free site. You can make a free account. It's got all 8 seasons. Lots of TV and movies on that platform.
Or if you like to save money but also enjoy chaos, go to Daily Motion and you can probably find every episode of all the seasons there, but not in any particular order.
Yes, and some fun, like, rare cartoon and Japanese animation from 1975, probably.
And I Love Lucy.
Yes,
episode.
it's just random things on Daily Motion. It's great.
All right, here we go. Part 1, Act 1. We start at the house and we see a very pregnant Jennifer on the couch, lying on the couch. Her legs are like elevated on cushions. She's got ice pack on. She's in like big belly, whatever. And she's just lying there reading a book. Larry comes home through the front door, and we've said this all season long. This is typically where we would get a very quick go-to. Someone bursts in and says the premise
plot.
of the show.
Yes.
However, we have already acknowledged that we feel like there were different writers for these last 8. That is not what happens again here today. But
also,
anyway.
we mentioned when we were talking about this is a part 1, so we have to remember structurally it's going to be a little bit different because it's a whole half of a thing.
It's almost like a longer act 1. The whole episode is an act 1.
Correct.
Yeah. So Larry runs through the door and he's looking up the stairs and calling up the stairs. He's like, Jen, I'm home. He doesn't see Jennifer on the couch.
No.
Sorry, I'm late. Traffic was terrible. And as he's yelling up, he like takes off his jacket and tosses it on the couch. It falls on Jennifer over her face.
On her face. Remember they established last episode he does not pay attention.
He does not pay attention
to Jennifer's pregnancy. And he notices, he's like, oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. And he takes the jacket off. And then he's like, although I don't know how I could have missed you. And he laughs nervously. And he's like, no, I mean, not that you're too big to miss. And he's like, no, I didn't miss. I'll just stop talking now, he says. He's just probably...
Larry, you've had 9 months to like figure out how to talk to a pregnant woman.
Yes, and he still stammers like a fool. Just shut your mouth, Larry.
And then so he sits down on the couch with her and he's like, is there anything I can do for you? And she goes, yeah, have this baby.
Oh, boy.
And we find out, okay, he's like, all right, I know you're a little overdue. So she's overdue. That's why she's like eager to get this baby out. He goes, I understand, but it's going to come any day now. You're going to have the baby. And Jennifer says, Larry, I've been pregnant so long that this baby is going to go straight from delivery room to college.
That's kind of a funny line, I guess.
I guess that's what it feels like when you're past your delivery date.
Yes, she's like long overdue. And then he has kind of a lame joke. He's like, well, at least we'll miss the toilet training. Boo. And then we get a fun callback to something they used to do on the show as Balky runs down the stairs behind them.
And again, not with a premise, but just with some fluff.
Yeah, he's running down with fluff, not with plot or anything. It's very interesting. And he looks up with his finger. And what does he say? He goes, boochie, boochie, boochie.
And then we see Marianne run down the stairs after him. And she taps him with her finger. And she goes, boochie, boochie, boochie.
She's also still pregnant.
And they're acting like she's still the opposite kind of pregnant from Jennifer. She's got a lot of energy. She's running around. She's chasing Balky, whatever. They both run down to Jennifer and Larry and they poke them and they both go boochie, boochie, boochie. And they run away and then they stop when they realize Jennifer and Larry are not running after them.
Yeah, they're not feeling it.
And they pause, simultaneously turn around, come back. It's a little nice choreography there. Yeah. And Balky says, it hasn't escaped our notice that some people in this house, we're not going to mention names, have been a little less than jolly. But we have just the way to turn them frowns upside down. And he says, we're going to a place that's big and colorful where barnyard animals roam freely. No, it's not my bedroom. That's like the joke. Weak jokes. And he laughs at his own thing. He goes, where do I come up with them? And then, no, where are they going? They're going to the fair.
Oh, the fair. And they dance around the sofa.
They're both excited like children.
And
the fair.
Yes, they're dancing up. Now, even Marianne, who's...
What fair? Chicago's huge. The fair.
Well, there's a state fair. Marianne is less pregnant than Jennifer, but she is hopping around still. And Balky sits on the arm behind Larry and hugs his head and squeezes his head. It's really funny. And Marianne's like, Balky's going to enter his boysenberry pig gut preserves in the jams and jellies contest.
Yum.
Boysenberry pig gut preserves. What do you spread that on? A cracker? Toast?
And Marianne's like, come on, you guys. We all have to go. We have to be the first in line at the petting zoo because later in the afternoon, the animals get so cranky. And so she tries to like lift up Jennifer from the couch. And they're like, come on, let's go. And Larry's like, wait, hold it. And then Marianne just lets her go. Jennifer plops back into the couch. He's like, are you crazy? We're not going to the fair. Jennifer is in no condition to be waddling around the fairgrounds. She can barely waddle around here. Now, just look at her.
They all lean in and look at her.
Oh my
and Jennifer's like, I think they get the picture, Larry. Waddling, he says, in the use of word. So Larry's like, we're not going to the fair. And Bucky's like, okay, we'll go miniature golfing then. We just golf around her. And him and Marianne both like pantomime golfing, silly, goofy golfing. And then Larry's just headed. He goes, Bucky, take a hike. And Bucky's like, oh, a hike. And then he goes, even though it seems a bit more strenuous than the fair. And he practices walking in place. It's really silly.
And then Larry kicks him out.
He's just like, get out.
Get out. And they're like, okay, we're just trying to bring joy to your lives. But they leave. He says, come on, Marianne, let's forget this whole ugly incident at the Square Dance Pavilion. And then they do some like square dancing moves.
They dance their way outside the front door.
A little do-si-do, a little
cute.
swing your partner.
It's cute.
So they leave. And then, so that was all just like a little bit of, I don't know where that was going.
Yeah, there's a lot of fluff and things that don't go anywhere in this episode just to do a simple thing.
You think maybe there's a setup in there, but it's not.
No, a little bit. The fair will come back. So the fair is part of the setup, but there's a lot of fluff.
It's so fluffy, yeah.
Yes. So, yes, Larry sits down now, and he's like, Jen, can I get anything? She says she's a little hungry. And she goes, will you fix me something to eat? Maybe some fresh fruit, tossed salad, some cheese. Pot roast with those little potatoes. And Larry's walking in the kitchen. And she's like, wait. What am I thinking? I can't eat all of that. Forget the little potatoes. And he's like, okay.
And then Jennifer starts doing like short, like huffy Lamaze breath.
Yeah, suddenly she's like.
And Larry's like, he immediately goes into Larry's plane.
He's going to mansplain Lamaze breathing to her.
If you're going to practice your Lamaze breathing, remember you have to start with a cleansing breath. And he demonstrates. He's like, come on, try it with me. And Jennifer's just like, Larry, I'm not practicing. I'm having the baby.
Oh, boy.
And Larry's like, what? And Jennifer says, we have to go to the hospital.
Oh, dear.
She says it very calmly. She's like, I'm just going to write Balky and Marianne a note. And she starts writing a note on a piece of paper on the coffee table. And then Larry starts to panic. He's like, okay, good. You write them a note. All right. I'll get the car. Where are the keys? All right. Where's the mailbox? Huh? And he's like running around.
Where's my jacket?
Where's my jacket? Where's the suitcase? Where's the mailbox? Where's the keys?
Where's the mailbox?
Yeah. Remember the mailbox?
Yeah.
From,
and then he sits down next to Jennifer. He's just going,
and then he stops. He's in the midst of his panic. He's still panicking.
He's having a panic attack.
He's like, Jen, we have to talk. And then, okay, remember last week we were talking about them telling us things instead of showing it, and it could have made a better episode.
Correct.
So this next thing is very telly, and I feel like all that stuff in the beginning could have been replaced by showing us this instead. But he says, we have to talk. Now, in the last week, we've gone to the hospital numerous times, and you know how it goes. It's always the same. You tell me you're in labor. I have a mini breakdown. Somehow we get out the door. I drive on the sidewalk. We get to the hospital. We find out it's false labor. False labor, Jen. And then we come home, and then I have to go back to the hospital and have my blood pressure lowered. Now, I only have one trip left in me, Jen. If we're going to do this, I have to know that this is the real thing. He's panicking.
Yeah, and he is, and Jennifer is very calm and just grabs his hands and says, this is the real thing, Larry. We have to go to the hospital. We have to go now. I mean, it's a good panicked little bit from
I mean, but it's a lot of telling. Like, instead of all that play and fluff in the beginning, we could have seen them at least coming back from a previous trip, being another false alarm. That's 12 this week, you know?
So they're
starting to know us at the hospital.
They tell us first, and then they show us later.
Okay.
But it is like
they didn't
all out of
have
order.
To, yeah.
I mean, you could have done this right away. And then so they get up, and this is it. And he's like, okay, as long as you know what you're getting into. And then he freaks out a guard, says, okay, I'll get the car. Where's my keys? Where's the mailbox? Where's my jacket? Where's the suitcase? The suitcase has been at the front of the door.
Jennifer has the suitcase in her hand at this point, and they walk out the door. And Larry's like, let's go. All right, here we go. I'm breathing too fast. We're going to make it. Just clear the sidewalks.
He yells out, clear that sidewalk.
Out the door.
Because he's going to be driving.
Jennifer's calm.
He's very calm. He will be driving on the sidewalk because he is the panicky Pete. And we get a little transition scene outside the house. It says later that day. And we see Balky and Marianne presumably returning from the fair, entering the front door. And Balky is holding what?
A giant teddy bear.
I mean, a really big teddy bear. Like, huge, it's as big as the person.
The size of himself.
It's at least as tall as they are. It might be bigger than Marianne. And they're singing a song. You remember how the song went?
Who's got the pain when they do the mambo? Who's got the pain when they go? Woo! Who's got the pain when they do the mambo? I don't know who. Do you?
And then they dance over to the sofa, and it ends with "Ole!" And they all jump, and the big bear's in the middle. They all jump on the sofa. Now, this is a song from the musical Damn Yankees.
Oh, I've never seen that music.
And apparently, this is the second time they have sung this song on the show.
It did sound familiar.
When you started singing it, I almost triggered when we did it before, but I can't remember actually what episode that was. But I remember you singing it that when we talked about it the other
sang
time.
It before.
Yeah. It totally just triggered
That's
that.
So funny.
Because
Deja vu.
Yeah, and I couldn't remember what it's from some episode. It's a preview. The second time. So now they're reusing songs like that. You know how many hundreds of songs, thousands, millions of songs?
Yeah.
So many songs. You can reuse this. Okay.
So many songs. All right. So they end up on the couch, and the bear's in between them. They're both sort of cuddling the bear on either side of the couch. And Marianne says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Belky. I'm sorry, your boysenberry pig cut preserves didn't win first prize, so he didn't win." And Belky says, "I guess they just hated my guts." And then they both do with the bear arms.
This is cute. They lift
where
the bear
do
arms.
I come up with them?
And bring him down? Like, I thought it was funny with the bear.
He's called Bobo because she says, "Thank you for winning Bobo for me. I just love him. He's so cute." And then Belky makes it like the bear is talking back to her. He's like, I love you too, Marianne. And remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
Well, he does it. This is a line from Smokey the Bear, remember? And he does it in that voice. Only you can prevent forest fires. Yeah. And he pushes the bear on her. And then Marianne's like, okay, Bobo, take a break. And they just toss Bobo behind them. He just flies behind the sofa.
And then they notice the note on the coffee table.
Oh, Belky, look, a note.
And she picks it up and she reads out loud, "We've gone to the hospital. I'm having my baby." And then there's a beat and she goes, "Gee, I wonder who it could be from."
And they're both stumped for a little while. They're sitting there going, huh. And Belky's like, well, see, it's on my stationery. And then they just both look at the thing and go, And then it strikes them both, light bulb at the same time. And they're like, "Oh, it's from Jennifer." And they're like, "Jennifer's having a baby." And then they get all excited. You know what happened here? Just like last week, we talked about how maybe Marianne became left-handed because she's been spending a lot of time with Belky.
She also became stupid.
I think Belky became stupid, absorbing it, osmosis through Marianne. Because they're sitting there, even Belky's sitting there going,
No, but you know they play with his intelligence all the time.
Which is why also they're a perfect match. Yeah. So they get all frenzy, and Marianne's like, "We gotta call the hospital," and Belky's like, "No, we gotta call the florist," and he pushes her one way, and she goes, "No, we have to call the florist," and then it pushes him the other way.
No, we go to the florist and call the hospital from the florist.
And at this point,
he's just got Marianne scrambling to get out the door.
He's got Marianne by the door, which is open, and they're walking towards the door when suddenly, who walks in?
Jennifer and Larry.
Calmly, very slowly, and the look on their face
exhaustedly
does not seem fun. They're
and Belky and Marianne don't understand what happened.
Yes.
they're like, "Oh, you're back! Congratulations, congratulations!" I'm like, "Do you see a baby? There's no baby." And she's still
clearly
pregnant.
still pregnant.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh my goodness, you have the baby! Congratulations, congratulations!" And you're home in only one day. Balky says, "What stamina? You must be part Meposian."
I do love Larry goes, "We're home."
Yeah, and then Larry's like, "Okay, guys, Jennifer didn't have the baby.
Didn't have the baby." So he says it. It's so funny.
He's frustrated at his very pregnant.
Balky's like, "Well, that would explain why she's still so huge." Very observant.
It was another false alarm.
False labor.
And Larry says, "Yep, I hyperventilated, drove on the sidewalk. Jennifer yelled, screamed, pulled the nurse's hair. You know, the usual."
Oh, they must love this pair down at the hospital.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then Marianne starts to do like a strange giggle and clutches her stomach. And Jennifer gets mad. She's like, "There's nothing funny about what I'm going through." And then Marianne, through her giggle, says like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Jennifer. I wasn't laughing at you." And she starts laughing more.
It's very cute giggle, too. I do like her giggle. It's adorable.
And Balky goes, "Oh, I know what it is. You're thinking about the way I looked in the funhouse mirror." And then he does like a weird body wiggle. And Marianne's like, "No, but that's funny too." And she's still giggling and laughing. She goes, "I feel all funny inside. I think I'm having my baby." What? This is so
oh my
weird.
God, this is crazy. And Jennifer's like, "Really?" She goes, No, you can't have your baby. I'm due before you are. It's my turn." And she goes to Larry, "Make her stop.
Her stop.
And Larry gets up and he's like, Marianne, Jennifer's a little touchy about this pregnancy thing. Is there any way maybe you could just hold off on having the baby?" And Marianne just giggles.
She's just keep laughing and holding her stomach
like so, Larry.
It's like an uncomfortable giggle. It's like, like she might be uncomfortable, but she's also laughing. Balky's like, "Okay, everyone, listen. Here's the plan. Jennifer, would you please walk Marianne to the car? I'll call the doctor and tell him to meet us at the hospital. Cousin Larry, you get the pig snout pacifier. All right, go."
He's like, "Break."
He's very organized. He's calm.
He's taking charge. He's calling the shots. He's making things happen very perfectly calm.
And as the girls leave, as the women leave the scene, we hear Jennifer say, "Marianne, you're going to hear a lot of ugly things about my behavior at the hospital today. Unfortunately, it's all true."
Boy, what did she do over there? Meanwhile, Balky
is... they leave. Yeah,
Balky's on the sofa, his arm up on the phone, just like, "Yes, hello. Yes, this is Balky Bardogamus. My wife, Marianne Bardogamus, is on her way to the hospital. She is in labor. Would you..." "Oh, yes, I'll hold." And then he just stops. And he's like, "Oh, hello." He's like, "Will you please tell Dr. Ives that we are on our way to the hospital, and would you please meet us there?" It's "Okay, thank you." And then he's like, Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you okay?" He's talking back to the guy. He's like, "Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye." And he's just very calm.
Very calm, collected.
Yes.
And he gets up to go to the closet to get his, like, the overnight bag or whatever. And Larry's like, "Boy, you are gone."
Boy, you are gone.
Who do you think you're fooling with this I am in control act? And Balky's like, "I am in control." And Larry, so this is weird too, because Larry's calm right now, but we saw that he got all panicky for Jennifer.
Yes.
Don't you think that he would get the same kind of panicky for Marianne because he's just like, this doesn't fit.
Not only doesn't he get panicky, but he is doing a Larry manipulation snow job to emotionally affect his best friend on the biggest day of his life when the man is perfectly
He's fine. None of this was necessary, what he's about to say. But also, it just didn't feel like in character for Larry to, because Jennifer's his wife, so he's panicky. But then when Marianne goes into labor, he's like, fine. Cool as a cucumber. No, I think he would still freak out. Because they freaked out. We had a pregnant woman in season 1, and they freaked out about getting to the hospital then.
Hospital baby is coming.
Exactly.
Okay, but what does he do here? This
baby hospital is coming.
This doesn't make a lot of sense what he does to Balky.
So he starts manipulating Balky and gaslighting him almost. He's like, you're in the midst of a major breakdown. Balky said, "No, I'm in control." He's like, you're in denial. And Balky goes, "No, I'm not." And Larry goes, See?
That's kind of funny. You're in denial. No, I'm not. See? And then he's like, "Oh my God, you're right. What am I denying?" He's like, Balky has no idea.
And Larry says, "You are facing one of the most important moments of your adult life, and you are starting to realize that millions of things can go wrong." And Balky's like, what can go wrong?
Yeah, he's like, we just got to get to the hospital. What's the problem?
And Larry's like, well, just getting to the hospital. What if you run out of gas? What if you get stuck in a traffic jam? What if the transmission falls out? And Balky goes, oh no, what if I hit a cow and then I have to bury it and comfort the other cows?
And comfort the other cows.
And Larry's like, yeah, just let those feelings out,
Oh my
buddy.
God,
Just
Larry,
let
why
it
are you
happen.
doing this to him? Why are you doing this to him?
Meanwhile, the ladies are waiting in the car.
And Balky now is emotional wreck. He's broken down. He goes, cousin, I didn't mean to hit her. She ran out in front of my car. She was chasing a salt lick. 1 minute she was a happy, productive little heifer. And the next, ground chuck.
Yeah.
He's made up this whole cow incident in his head now. It's a lot of details. It's kind of funny.
And so Larry has successfully drawn Balky into a panic, and so much time has passed that Jennifer runs back into the house and says Marianne had the baby in the car.
What? What is happening?
And
Get
meanwhile,
out of the city.
But Jennifer is like not covered in any baby
she's completely
juice
clean.
or
There's
anything.
no
She's
fluids.
like dry.
And also, maybe
Like did she deliver the baby?
maybe
Why isn't she
a minute
messy?
or 2 minutes has passed.
Yeah,
maybe.
it was. Well, Marianne has had an easy pregnancy,
so it
maybe
just
she had
popped right, it just slid right out. No problem.
in the car.
2
And
minute
Jennifer
delivery.
apparently delivered it, and she's not covered in any.
I didn't hear anybody screaming. There was no commotion outside, and her hands are clean.
No
Everything's
baby
fine.
crying.
No,
That would have
where's
been a nice.
Yeah.
A nice.
Her hair is still perfect. So Marianne just had the baby in the quickest delivery on television ever. In the car, she goes, Balky, you have a son. And Balky's like, cousin, did you hear that? I have a son. And he's like, come on, we got to get them both to the hospital.
And Balky's like, what if something goes wrong? What if I run out of gas or the transmission on my car falls out or I hit another cow? The other cows know about me now.
I kind of love that. Like, the
That's
other
funny.
cows know about me now. In his head, the word is spread to all the cows.
And Larry's like, no, get a hold of yourself. It's going to be fine. He's like, okay. And Balky's like, yeah, you're right. I'm fine. And then Larry's like, okay. And he goes, let's go. And then Balky passes out backward, faints. And then we fade to black. End of Act 1.
Okay, so this is a long act one. That established
things,
the main thing. Marianne had the baby before Jennifer.
Yes. And if this was a regular episode, you would think the way this ended, this
They've
act
worked up
ended, you would
Balky.
think the main story of the main conflict of this episode
The
is that
thread.
Balky's freaking out now about being a father.
So,
but that's not it.
Listener, I'm going to tell you, if you're looking for that thread, just let it go.
Yeah.
Because this goes nowhere.
But
this
let's talk
whole
about-
thing was complete filler and has nothing to do with any of what's going on.
Let's talk about how they portrayed going into labor in 1993.
We didn't see anything. It just happened.
Marianne knew she was in labor because she was giggling and felt funny, and obviously she knows her body. But if this was a now show, everybody talks about water breaking and stuff like
this
that.
is before water breaking
But
on TV.
I guess
You do
in
not- you do
'93
not
we still didn't talk about that.
You don't
stuff.
show any fluids. You
But
don't
even
show any
on,
hints.
that show that we're not supposed to mention anymore, whose main
They had a water
character
breaking
was
mentioned.
No, they didn't. But he would always say, "How far apart are the contractions?
he was a
How far
doctor.
apart
Yeah,
are they?"
so
he was a doctor.
yeah.
But they talked about stuff like that. How far?
Oh,
but here,
yes.
there's not even contractions. She's
No.
just like, "Oh, I'm having a baby.
I feel
Oh,
funny.
I had the baby."
Well, it's perfect straight.
Yeah. Okay.
So that will take us to a long first act break. Listener, you can join this conversation and join our Facebook group. It's called Dance of Joy Podcast Group. There is a link in the episode description. This is where I had been posting threads of the episode. There is one more episode thread to comment on, which is the finale. But there's other fun stuff. You will meet other fans of Perfect Strangers, listeners to the show. And I just posted a celebration, a congratulation to the group. We had a major milestone.
Happy anniversary, y'all!
Well, actually, but right about now when we're recording is exactly our 4-year podcast anniversary. The group was created all at the same. It's all started 4
Just
years
around
ago.
somebody's
thanks,
birthday.
Thanks for all the people who've been around for 4 years, and who've joined recently, and will continue.
Yes, thank
to
you so
join
much
in the
for
future.
supporting us and being with us. I can't believe it's been
Happy
4
4-year
years.
anniversary,
Happy 4
sister.
years. Thank you. Thank you.
That's crazy. And we're almost at the end. It's this whole thing. It's like a dream.
It shouldn't have taken us 4 years,
Well,
but
technically
we
it
took
shouldn't,
some
but whatever.
breaks.
No, we're just gonna savor it.
Okay, Act 2. Moving on. And we are now on the next day. And we're back at the house, but it's only Larry, Balky, and Jennifer.
Marianne curiously absent for the
she's
remainder
at the hospital with the baby, but why isn't Balky there?
But, Balky's not there. So sitting on the sofa, left to right, Larry, Jennifer in the middle, Balky, and Balky has this little plastic accordion thing with little photos in there. Remember last episode we talked about photographs? These are real small. These are like portraits. 2 by 3.
They fit in your wallet.
Yes, wallet sized, and he's flipping through them, and this is how people carried around photos.
He's already had time to go develop all these photos.
Yeah, so he's taken a bunch of photos, dropped them off at the photo hut, picked them up, and put them in this accordion sleeve thing that you just put in your pocket. Who carried around pictures? I guess that's people would pull out, hey, you want to look at pictures of my kid? And there would be all these pictures in their wallet.
Yeah, not like the day after. Like he should be at the hospital with his wife and child.
Absolutely.
But he's not.
He's not because then
very strange.
They wrote it that way.
I feel like this episode is written by like 22-year-old dudes who don't know anything. Okay, so anyway, here comes the main premise in Act 2, I think.
Finally, we're getting there.
Jennifer says to Balky, she goes, what did Mary Ann do to make her go into labor so early? Jennifer wants her baby out of her. And she's like, I have to find out what she did. I have to have this baby now. Oh, Larry's like, Jennifer, I don't think it's anything she did. I want you to have a baby too, but I don't think that's right. And Jennifer wants to get rid of him. She's like, would you go get me a Pop-Tart and cut it into little tiny squares like I like it? And
the goes, cutting part will take more time, I guess.
So she's trying to get rid of him.
And as soon as Larry leaves, Jennifer turns to Balky and goes, Balky, what did Mary Ann do yesterday?
Everything Mary Ann did.
Tell me everything he did.
Up until she went into labor. And Balky said, okay, but first I have a really important question for you. And then he holds up one of the photos to show Jennifer. He goes, is this the cutest nose you've ever seen in your life or what? Aww. Jennifer's like, it's adorable. And Balky says, don't worry, he'll grow into it.
The baby's got a big nose.
Jennifer's like, focus, what did Mary Ann do yesterday? And Balky said, she had my child.
That's a really touching line when he goes, she had my child. I was like, oh my God.
Little Robespierre Boinky Bartakamus.
We get the full name is Robespierre Boinky Bartakamus.
So silly.
So his monogram would have RBB on it. Boinky.
AKA the cutest baby in the world.
They both say that because he's been saying this a lot. But Robespierre, he is a French revolutionary, baby Balky.
Yeah. And then he looks at the photos again and he says, I've taken a photograph of him every hour for the last 2 days, meaning yesterday and today, I guess. Yeah.
Sure.
And I just realized if I flip them real fast, you can see him grow. And he like accordions the thing open and close.
It's like baby's first steps. It's really silly. So, but Jennifer's like, all right, let's get down to business, Balky.
I need to know everything Mary Ann did leading up to the birth of little Robespierre Boinky.
So Balky tells her she didn't do much until they went to the fair. He says she spent $36 at the coin toss and she won a mustache comb, which she gave to the bearded lady because she's such a giving soul. And then he says, all that time, unbeknownst to us, little Robespierre Boinky was planning on making his little entrance. Look at those cheeks. He looks at the baby. Don't you just want to pinch those little cheeks? And Jennifer's like, I want to have my own little baby with little cheeks to pinch. I want to have 48 pictures of my own baby. And then she turns to him and she goes, Balky, you could help me have this baby. And he looks at her and goes, what?
He's like, what? You could help little Robespierre Boinky have a little cousin to play with. All you have to do is just tell me what Mary Ann
Yes, let's get to it.
So he says, after the coin toss, they went for he says helium balloon ride, but I think he means hot air balloon ride.
He says helium balloon ride. Okay, that's what he says.
But the TV guide description said hot air balloon, and later we see it's a hot air balloon. They went for a balloon ride, and then she wanted a corn dog, which I really don't understand because it's not corn, it's not a dog. What is it?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
But it's a good question. So Larry walks back in at this point, and he has the plate of Pop-Tarts, and he's like, are you still trying to figure out what Mary Ann did? He sits down. He goes,
Jennifer's like, balloon ride. It makes perfect sense. She went up in a balloon. The air pressure changed. She went into labor.
Is this science sound? Does that happen?
Larry, usually it's Larry who has the crazy ideas, but he's the voice of reason here. He's like, I don't know. Maybe it could happen. Who knows?
Somebody tell. We got to look up the science.
Who knows?
Larry goes, that's ridiculous. A balloon ride possibly could have, but it kind of makes
But
sense.
Balky says, actually, cousin, it makes perfect sense. It happens to me posing astronauts all the time. We have a berth on every shuttle. Of course, they only go up as far as we can throw them, but still the principle is exactly the same.
So now he's like
they're throwing pregnant women up in shuttles on me.
Pregnant astronauts off a catapult while they give birth in the air. I mean, look, pressure push the baby out. I don't know, maybe it could work.
And Balky's now excited. He's all in.
Yeah.
He's like, "Come on, Jennifer, let's go get little Robespierre Boinky, a little cousin."
He's dragging her to the door. He's like, we can put them in the crib, make them do the dance of joy in their little booties. He's all excited. And Larry's like, hold on. He's like, are you two out of your minds? He's like, I'm not going to let my wife float hundreds of feet in the air in a balloon.
Balky says, cousin, it's not hundreds of feet. It's just 50 feet up, and it goes, and there's a rope holding it to the ground. I guess it just goes up and down because it's like a fair balloon.
Yeah, it's a simple fair balloon.
I bet we could see the hospital from it. Maybe I could ask Marianne to take a picture of me from little Robespierre Boinky's point of view.
So now he even tells us Marianne is in the hospital with the baby.
Why
and
isn't he there?
Is not in the hospital.
Maybe he came for food and stuff, but
maybe,
then got
but
distracted.
He's getting, you should probably get back to your wife and your baby. And Jennifer's
we also
like,
don't see Marianne for the rest of this episode.
we don't.
Yeah.
Which is, I thought that was interesting also. So Jennifer's all in. She's like, Larry, let's go. We're going to the fair. And Balky leaves, and Larry holds her back, and he goes, now, sweetheart, listen. He goes, I know you're not going to like this, but I absolutely forbid you to go up into the balloon. And then you just see her face get all mad, and then sheepishly he goes, no, is that going to be a problem, sweetheart?
And Jennifer's like, what do you think? And Larry says, I think we're going for a balloon ride.
Yeah, you're going for a balloon ride, Larry. So now we cut to an establishing footage from maybe the 70s, the 80s of a fair. That looks like a state fair.
Yeah.
Right? And they cut into the fair, and you see one of those hammer ring the bell things, and there's a hunky dude.
A large muscly man carrying the mallet.
And he walks by this balloon setup, and Larry, Jennifer, and Balky walk in.
A large hot air balloon.
And you see the hot air balloon there. You see the basket. Now, something interesting I found out that this balloon prop itself and that establishing shot we just talked about of the fair had already been used on an episode of Family Matters.
Oh.
Which this guy directed episodes of Family Matters.
So this guy's just redoing episodes across shows in the same universe.
The director didn't write it, but he's like, hey, I got this footage. We used this, and I still got the balloon in the warehouse.
I guess
in that episode, Urkel tries to help Carl get over his fear of heights by taking him up in hot air balloon, and Urkel manages to hang from the basket. In that episode, a little foreshadowing for what's going to happen.
I think I remember that episode, actually.
And in that episode, the guy who played the hot air balloon instructor, it was played by Jim Dugan, who played Jimmy the security guard from Perfect Strangers.
The guard locked the window.
So you got a couple of cross connections here. Same director, you got Jimmy, you got the same footage, same hot air balloon.
Interesting.
And the rooftop where they shot do the Urkel, I think we've seen that rooftop. That was used somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We are at the hot air balloon now, and turns out there's a sign clearly saying balloon ride is closed. And of course, Jennifer is very upset. She's like, I don't believe this.
Looks like Howard took the day off.
And Jennifer's like, who's Howard?
Balky says he runs the balloon ride. He's also a wine connoisseur, philosopher, and his thumbs are double jointed. Whatever. Random lines, not that funny.
Well, Larry hurts him here for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. He's like tries to bend. He's like he can bend his thumbs all the way back. I can't, and he tries to do it, and then Larry just
Larry's
squeezes
sure
it.
You can, and
he's like, ow.
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
Being really sadistic.
It's just weird. This whole episode is weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so Larry's like, nope, Howard's not here. Let's forget it. Let's go. And Jennifer is like, now her like crazy pregnancy stuff has kicked in. She really wants to be not pregnant anymore. She said, I'm not leaving here
She
until I've
rips
gone up
the
in this
barrier
balloon.
down and
She pulls the sign
walks
down.
over and grabs the balloon. Like, I'm going
and
up.
she's clutching the side of the balloon basket. She's like, I'm going up in this balloon. And she's like, where do we find Howard? Larry's like, sweetheart, we are in no condition to be running all over Chicago looking for some clown named Howard. And Balky says, no, Howard isn't the clown. Arthur is the clown. He's right over there next to the fortune teller. And Larry's like, no, we're just going to get home. We're going to go home. We're going to get a good night's rest. And we'll be here. We'll come back tomorrow morning.
Balky goes, that's exactly what I would suggest, except today happens to be the last day of the fair.
And Jennifer's like, oh, God, I'm never going to have this baby. I'm never going to have 48 pictures. I'm never going to have any chubby little cheeks to pinch. I'm just going to have this huge stomach for the rest of my life. And Balky says, no, I'll take you up in the balloon myself.
What? Okay, Balky, he's offers. That's very nice of him.
And
but
Larry's like, let's not get crazy. And Jennifer just calmly looks at him and says, it's too late, Larry. I'm way past crazy. I'm going up in this balloon with or without you.
Oh, she's serious.
And she starts to climb into the basket. And Larry's like, Balky, are you sure you can do this? And Balky says, of course I am. Don't be ridiculous. It's just like the balloons we have on Meepos, only ours don't have any air in them and they don't have any baskets. We call them drop cloths.
So this
like a parachute.
It's just like a sheet. I feel like this joke started funny and then the drop cloth is
weird. Yeah, I don't know what a drop cloth
is. It's just a sheet. It's just like a tarp. He described a sheet. He thinks a sheet is a balloon. It doesn't even make sense.
So then we get into a bit of physical comedy.
This part is kind of funny. So they got to help Jennifer get into the balloon basket, right? So her back is to the basket, and Balky and Larry both kind of lift up her legs to get her sitting on the edge of the basket. And then Balky tries to show more child pictures of his baby, and Larry's like, "Get in the basket, help me get her in." So Balky runs around to the back and climbs in the basket while Larry's holding her feet. So Larry pushes Jennifer up. Balky grabs Jennifer from around the waist as she is turning upside down, and they essentially flip her 360 degrees to where her feet land outside the basket behind them as Larry climbs into the basket. Jennifer runs around to the side of the basket, leaving the two of them in the basket, and she's standing outside, and they're looking at her, and they're like, what? And then they look behind her. They're like, well, she's not here. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So then they're like, okay, we're going to jump out and help you get in. So as the two of them jump out the two sides of the basket, Jennifer goes to the middle and very easily for a long overdue pregnant woman
up,
hops right into the basket. Why did she just do that in the first place?
Yeah,
as they run around, and now they're outside of the basket and she's in the basket.
And then they're like, what?
Isn't this funny? It's some Laurel and Hardy Abigail style hilarity.
Then she stays in. And they both go head first from either side of the basket. Over,
and Larry's legs get caught on the flag.
Yeah.
She's got. I don't think that was on purpose.
Yeah.
She's got to detangle Larry, and
then
they go
they all end up.
So yay!
Inside the
they're
basket.
Finally all in the back. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like they're in, she isn't. She's in. They get out.
Yeah. And so they're all in the basket. They're looking over the edge to the front towards us, and you see these two ropes that are tying. There's two ropes tying it to the ground.
Yeah, and they have like similar slip knot, kind of ship knot, whatever, where you just pull them and they release. And
Balky's looking at it, he's like, all right, it's all coming back to me now. I was here, Howard was over there, and Marianne was behind me. And this rope, this one, it lets you go up, and that one brings you back down.
And of course, Larry is a know-it-all. He's at the other rope. He's like, no, I think it's this one. He goes, you see the way it's tied down there? This is clearly the rope. But Larry, you have no idea how hot air balloons work at all. And
Jennifer's like, you guys know what you're talking about? And Larry's like, absolutely. Balky says it's obvious to anyone with a brain. And then they both say at the same time, pointing to different ropes, this is the one.
They're like, what? And Balky's like, cousin, I'm kind of sure it's this one. Larry's like, kind of sure. I isn't going to cut it. Balky, I am positive it's this one. They both pull the knots at the same time.
So they untie both ropes.
And the balloon starts to rise in the air. And just at that moment, for some reason, this little girl in a pink shirt runs up to the basket as it starts to
and watches it
away.
up. and we the camera is like the perspective of the basket going up, and we just see this little girl waving up at us.
So
It's
random.
weird.
Yes.
And Balky, and
then they do a little Abbott and Costello. I think it's like a Laurel and Hardy thing again, where they both say, "Well, now you've done it. You pulled the wrong rope.
Now we can't get back down."
They both say it at the same time, like Laurel and Hardy.
And so we see this little girl waving, and then we see like a shot of the hot air balloon.
Yeah, it's filmed footage
going up, and the voiceover says, "Don't worry, sweetheart, everything's under control." Balky, get this thing back on the ground. And then we hear Balky say, "I can't get it back. I don't know how it works." And then
Jennifer's
Jennifer's
like, the wind is picking
up. We're starting to drift. And then we get a to be continued on the screen.
Dun, dun, dun.
And roll credits.
Well, roll first credits. There is a Wizard of Oz reference right there. I did not know.
Oh.
When he says, "I can't get back," and I don't know how it works.
Oh, that's from Wizard of Oz?
It's apparently near the end of the movie Wizard of Oz, when Professor Marvel takes off in the balloon without Dorothy. He says the same thing. So roll credits, but we have under credits.
Yes.
And this is probably my favorite under credits.
It's bloopers, yeah.
It's bloopers, and I wish they did this for every episode. Maybe they didn't have good bloopers, but this blooper is about the line Marianne in the episode when they're sitting on the sofa
with the bear
with Bobo in the middle after they come back from the fair. Marianne's line is, "I'm sorry your boysenberry Balky, I'm sorry your boysenberry pig gut preserves didn't win the prize."
And then she just keeps laughing.
She tries this line, five, six, seven times in a row. It's so funny because she's constantly cracking up. She's trying to reset. And at the very end, as she says her line, Bronson turns to the camera and goes, "And we'll be right back with a word from our sponsor." And it just busts out cracking up. It's so cute and it's so funny. At one point, she even like touches the bear's nose, tries to clear her head. It's like, Balky. Yeah. She can't get past.
Very enjoyable to watch.
Pig gut preserves. She starts
boysenberry.
She gets it out, but then she cracks.
It's not an easy line to say.
It's a tricky line and hilarious bloopers from Marianne. And now roll credits.
Okay, so this episode, it was like an extended act one. The whole episode was like an act one because now we have the conflict, the obstacle, right?
What did we need? All we needed was Marianne
had a baby
early.
in a car.
What did she do? She went on a hot air balloon. I'm going on this hot air balloon. Oh, you guys are idiots, and now we're stuck.
Now we're
drifting away.
And we could go into labor any minute. I'm overdue. I'm pregnant, and we're stuck. We don't know how to get
They padded that
down.
out.
Yeah, so much. I wonder if they were just trying to fill 2 episodes and they couldn't think of anything better or wrote it really quickly.
The whole making Balky freak out amounts to nothing.
Yeah.
Doesn't go. It has nothing to do with it. All of it.
Boochie.
Yeah. I like seeing Boochie tag. It was fun, but we get it. They're now stranded in the hot air. So I don't know. It's all very weird.
Yeah. The whole false labor thing, I guess that was to show how tired and exasperated they are now.
How overdue she is, yes. So fine,
But some things that didn't make sense with the characters based on what we know about them. But that's been a thing this whole season.
Yeah, and the setup is great. And having, previously we watched the final episode. We're going to watch it again. I didn't remember it, but I can tell you, I that's not how I remembered it ending.
Or I didn't remember it at all.
Thought it should end like that, or was expecting that. It gets wacky and crazy and ridiculous.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Oh boy! I'll tell you what, though. Last episode was fun to talk about. This is the effect this season is having on me. Is I enjoy. It's fun to review bad things. It's fun to talk about, like when we review movies on other podcasts when it's a bad movie. Sometimes that is the most enjoyable conversation you're going to have because it's just fun to talk about how bad they are. So on some level, I've been enjoying talking about how, all that stuff we made up last week was so great.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
We wrote a great episode. Much better episode.
In the episode. And it was very entertaining.
Are you listening, Hollywood?
Yes. So it's been fun despite the drop in
Yeah.
quality. It's been fun talking about what is happening.
I agree. Question: have you been in a hot air balloon or a
You know what?
helium balloon,
No.
whatever that is?
Helium. So helium versus hot air. I don't know.
No, I don't know
They're
why
both
he
kinda
said
the same
helium.
thing.
I think it's a hot air
I
balloon.
have not. Have you?
But I have. But interestingly, in this episode, there's no mechanism in the balloon. There's
See,
no
this is why I was
stuff in there.
confused because a helium balloon would just be filled with helium. You don't need the hot air portion. A hot air balloon,
Yeah, but the
you need the
bottom
igniter.
of the balloon is open.
But
'cause
helium
it rises.
it gets trapped
Do you
in
think
this
they
big
had
balloon.
like pre-filled it with
Yes.
helium?
Okay, so side tangent. When I worked at the balloon delivery
That's true.
decorating
You are a balloon
in the
expert.
early 21st century, in the aughts,
The turn of the century.
the biggest. So you know when you go to the car dealers and you see those giant balloons up in the air.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest balloons I ever had to inflate with.
Oh, wow.
From a straight helium tank. The balloon, I kid you not, was 5 feet tall. It was as big as a
Oh,
person.
wow.
And when you finally got that high poundage fishing line tied to it, this thing could easily pull you away.
Oh, yeah?
You had a couple of these? Oh, yeah. Like you had to really struggle to hold this thing down.
Oh, wow.
And it's the scariest balloon to fill. Because
if it
keeps
takes
getting
off, it'll take.
I don't know if it's gonna pop. You really don't know when to stop because I'd never inflated that much helium in a thing before, and
wow.
it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And they're like, "No, it can get bigger." I was like, "Get out of here!" I was like, "This thing's gonna pop on me, and I'm
Or
gonna
it's
freak
gonna
out."
lift you up and
Yes.
carry you away.
And then when you're done, you have to grab it and tie that thing right away. And yeah, it has some pull. So a thing that like that filled with enough helium, I didn't see any helium tanks in the set.
But okay, then how do these? If that was helium, then how would those ropes work? How would one bring you back down and one take you?
I would think one is just 50 feet and you don't, and it's connected, and then you just pull
somebody
it. You
pulls it back down.
Yes, somebody pulls it, or you pull yourself back down. That's what I would imagine. Whereas the hot air balloon mechanism, you heat
Yeah.
the air and it causes.
I've been
it.
on a hot air balloon once.
Where?
In Turkey.
Oh,
in
get out. Oh,
Cappadocia.
my God. That must have been
It was
amazing.
really fun.
Yeah.
We had to get there super early in the morning. I made the mistake of drinking the coffee they offered us in the before we got on the
There's
balloon.
no toilets on these baskets?
There's no toilet on the balloon.
Oh.
But it's super cool. I have these photos somewhere, old school photos.
Printed.
Or maybe they're digital actually at
digital?
that point, but I don't know where they are. Of like being in a cloud and we're in the basket and it's just like white all around us. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's above 50 feet, I think. You were high up there. All right, well, what did our listeners think, Sister?
Okay, first up, we have listener cousin Barb Weatherby, who writes, I've decided I'm going to look for the best of these last couple of episodes, as we are too. I was happy to see Bucci Tag return, as well as Larry's growl at Balky, which is one of my many funniest things he does in the series. The name Robespierre Boinky could not fit Balky's child any better. I don't know. I think they could have gone more Boinky with the name. Could not fit Balky's child any better. He's bound to be his own person and just as carefree as his father.
Now, if you do PS Today, what's Robespierre doing now? He'd be like 36,
Well,
37. Yeah.
My favorite line from the episode and one of my overall favorites is the other cows know about me now. It's just so ridiculous and Bronson's delivery is bang on. I have to say my favorite part of the episode is when Balky and Marianne danced in the door with the bear singing Who's Got the Pain from Damn Yankees, and Balky used the bear to do the Where Do I Come Up With Them Arms. What a great bonus at the end to see Rebecca try so hard to say her line and failing, and she and Bronson both cracking up with laughter. It was very joyful. I wish they had done these blooper reels and extra bits over the end credits for all the seasons. To end off, I've gone back to the beginning to listen to all your episodes, and some of them have featured Rainey from Balky Duds.
Yeah.
I very much enjoy that because I've been keeping a book on each episode, in parentheses, don't judge me, as I watch. And one of the things I've been writing down is what Balky is wearing. It's great to have some names to add to my notes. I'll keep listening until I hear them all.
Remember, Rainey had a whole database.
We miss Rainey. Rainey, if you're out there and listening, we miss you.
Balky Duds' Instagram is still there
Duds
with a link to a database of everything Balky wore. Barb Weatherby also posted on her Facebook group a picture of
her
the
notes.
book. Yes. Cataloging every episode
Very
of Perfect
cool.
Strangers.
Very cool.
This is the kind of a fanatic fandom we love. It's exactly why we're here.
Next up, we have listener cousin Pam Hitchcock, who writes, having been overdue for all 3 of my pregnancies, I can sympathize with Jennifer. Yikes. It really does feel like you're going to be pregnant forever. Isn't Dimitri the Bucci in Bucci Tag? Missed opportunity for an appearance. Totally. I'm not counting the picture on the mantle as being good enough.
That's a good point.
Agree.
Bucci, he was the Bucci, wasn't he?
They're slacking on Dimitri.
They ran to the stairway post as the Bucci.
Well, they didn't have budget for the Dimitri intern for season 8.
You can forget about actual Dimitri.
They already fired him.
I'll tell you right now, we're not seeing him anymore. That's it.
Cousin Pam writes, I'd like to meet a woman in real life who giggles with labor pains.
That's odd.
Yeah, exactly.
That was odd.
Way to go, Larry, for not supporting Balky when he had everything under control. I did enjoy the cow scenario, though.
That was one good thing that came out of that.
Apropos of nothing, Jennifer's sweater is one of the ugliest I've ever seen.
The one at the end with all the colorful splotches. What is that?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty 1993, though. I remember those sweaters. Did Jennifer invent Pop-Tart bites? They didn't come out until 1994. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh.
There actually is a theory about low barometric pressure stimulating labor, but no scientific proof.
Oh. So there is some it's theory. So maybe not fact. There is some theory about barometric pressure.
Okay, Cousin Pam writes, Jennifer was pretty agile with that flip over and hop into the basket for someone who could barely move at home. Yep. I've decided my pregnancy theory, which is long-winded, is more appropriate for the finale.
Ooh.
I have a feeling I'm not going to have much more to say. 9 Bubba Stickies for me.
Yeah, can't wait for the full pregnancy theory next episode. That's going to be great.
Next up, we have listener cousin Nicole Stoner, who writes, the outtake with Bronson and Rebecca during the credits is great. I wish we had more of them over the seasons.
Yes.
Agreed. Everybody chimed in this episode. I love it. Next up, we have listener cousin Whitney Smith, who writes, first of all, Balky is a daddy. Can you believe it? That simple little meepy up boy that's a sheep herder from Meepos that we all know and love is now a daddy. I didn't like the concept of this episode of them going up in a hot air balloon to possibly for Jennifer to have the baby. That doesn't seem logical at all either.
Nope.
I really felt the writers didn't think this out at all.
You don't say.
I bet they were like, well, we're at the last 2 episodes, so let's just come up with anything, and having a baby in a hot air balloon.
Sure.
Fun fact, the set or maybe location that they used when they were getting in the hot air balloon is the same set used in Family Matters episode where Carl, we talked about that, where Carl is afraid of heights and Steve Urkel takes
repurposing
the story and the balloon.
Yes, everything.
Thank you, Whitney Smith. Next up, we have listener cousin Jason Kurinko, who writes, you know what? I'm just wondering why Jennifer is on the couch with her head propped up by a normal bed pillow. Was the one she asked for and that Larry bought her not doing the trick? Oh, yeah, the pillow. If so, that's fine. I would understand. But to just not address it, it feels like an attack on me personally. Honestly, could not pay attention to the rest of this episode because I kept wondering about the dumb neck pillow. That's so true.
Yeah, where was that neck pillow that he bought her for?
The only thing that got through my
birthday,
my emotional state was Robespierre. What? When did Balky or Marianne ever show the slightest interest in the French Revolution? I need answers, people, and I'm not going to find them inside a hot air balloon.
Oh, very frustrated cousin Jason is. I get it.
I get it. I
feel you.
Also, why isn't Balky at the hospital with his wife and new baby? And finally, we have listener cousin Matt Crass. It's been a while. Welcome back, Matt Crass, who writes, wow, Marianne sure had that baby in record time. I had to look up the fastest ever baby delivery, and it is apparently 9 minutes.
That was quicker. This was quicker.
Why was it such a non-event, and how did Jennifer not scream for help?
All good questions.
All good questions.
That was less. That was like
she
2.5
didn't
minutes.
have like water, blood, mucus, anything on her.
Some stuff splattered on you. Come on.
Did Marianne deliver her own baby while Jennifer watched from a distance?
Yeah.
Cousin Matt writes, also, there was a nice callback to the early season episode, Hello Baby. Yeah, where Balky's friend Gina goes into labor and Larry calls the hospital and a tizzy and exclaims, hello, hospital, the baby is coming. We knew he wouldn't be able to handle his own wife going into labor, but he was remarkably calm when Marianne went into labor.
Yes, makes no sense.
And finally, how does any traveling fair just leave an inflated hot air balloon accessible to passersby? Don't be ridiculous.
That's a very
Excellent.
good. Anybody could have just jumped in that balloon and just stole it. Somebody stole my balloon. Don't be ridiculous. Was that once?
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And we just got Dimitri's photo on the mantle. That's all we're getting.
Okay, now we're at PS Today. Perfect Strangers Today, which is the segment of this podcast where we talk about can we or should we remake this episode today? Would things hold up? What would change? There are still, you don't really have hot air balloons at city fairs in Chicago.
Well,
No one's doing a hot air balloon in Chicago.
I mean, a little one, maybe.
You have to go out into a field where, like, you have to go out where things are open and clear.
I mean, the state fair would be like miles away out in the rural area. I mean, so essentially, you got to just do the whole thing. Marianne delivers her baby first. They get stuck in a hot air balloon. Do you use the hot air balloon? I don't know.
I don't know.
Do you do like maybe going up in the Sears Tower? That's really high. And there's definite air pressure change in those elevators when you go. You feel your ears pop.
My ears pop.
Like that's higher
My ears
than
popped
the hot.
in the doctor's office downtown.
Oh my God, yeah. I need those buildings. And that's
21st floor.
that is higher than that hot air balloon would go to. So maybe you do that. Instead, they
Just go up in the Sears Tower.
and they get stuck in the elevator.
in the
and
glass box.
Or maybe in the glass. And she
Sky
has to
box.
have the baby in the box or in the elevator because they got stuck in the elevator.
Yeah, but we've
What is the...
had an elevator episode before, but we've had other things repeat.
We've had
I don't know.
everything before. I don't.
I guess it would still... the things that don't make sense then also will not make sense today. Like, why is there a hot air balloon at a city fair?
You could just have a random hot air balloon still.
But everything else... Oh, but now we would talk about like, oh, my water broke. Oh, the contraction.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be like a weird giggle fest.
Yeah, and the baby wouldn't just come out right away. But you would know, you'd have more clues as to the timing of the labor. I get it's become
like a maybe.
I guess you got to do the pregnant thing a little more realistic now, just because of what everybody has seen and what we, But and that's always like the cheap thing on the show to have the person get pregnant and give birth. How many shows have done that? How many actresses have had to pretend to have labor pains?
Yeah.
And it either gets you an Emmy or you do it really badly.
Oh, right.
It's so tropey.
Actually, it's funny that you say that because we, the other day, just watched this movie that happened to we were looking for something to watch and I was like, oh, it's Alana Glazer and Michelle Buteau in the preview, two women comedians who I really respect and admire. And it was a movie called Babes. And I said, let's watch that. And we watched it. And it actually, we watched that before we watched this episode. And there's a lot of weird parallels, but like modernized in Babes in that movie. So both of them are pregnant in the movie and they both have babies, but it's like this new present day progressive, like very honest treatment, comedic, very honest comedic from a woman's perspective. Women writers clearly description and discussion about being pregnant and giving birth,
which at times gets a little gross, a little graphic, but it's real. It's the opposite. It's the most real, and it is kind
very
of
real.
The fact that they were like best friends who both had pregnant and had babies was kind of similar to if Perfect Strangers was rebooted with two women in today's time. Like it would be this movie Babes. This whole finale of the season 8 is this movie Babes in today's time.
Without giving away too many details of how they treated it in the movie Babes, I'll just say that the way they found out that one of them was in labor was like very, very different than just like innocent giggling and
yes,
it was very.
It had to deal with the water breaking thing, but it was very
water
graphic.
Breaking and
but
other
it was
signs.
something I did not know that it doesn't always happen like it is in the movie, right?
Yeah.
So in the movie, she doesn't go to the hospital. She's like, I'm gonna go get some food and get some sushi before I have this baby.
Yeah,
because it's taking its time, so it's kind of
take
funny.
A while. Yeah.
So you know what? After it's been like we watched it 2 weeks ago, and at first I was like, this is a weird movie. I don't know if I liked it. But I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it was kind of interesting, actually.
It was weird, but it was interesting. Yeah,
it was weird, but it was different. It's very there's like you could tell there's a lot of improv in scenes that they kind of sketch together. There's a lot of stand-up comics in the movie, just kind of doing bits.
It's just fun. It's just like a fun movie.
Yeah,
the story wasn't like super coherent, but
it's got like it's got a wholesome, heartfelt ending at the end.
Yeah.
And
it was a friendship, like between a female friendship. Essentially story, which is good because we need to see more.
But it was wild that it was exactly what this season finale.
It was, and we watched that one before we watched these finale episodes. We're like,
today.
oh my god,
yes, this movie
that
is
PS today,
for
babes.
These two,
what was it on Hulu?
Yeah,
watch it.
So if you got some time and yes.
All right, that's part 1 of the series finale.
Oh my God, listener!
Next time
you hear us, next episode, we did it. We've made it to the final episode of Perfect Strangers ever.
Oh, are we gonna get emotional?
God.
What are we talking about?
I don't even know. We might get emotional.
We need a cake.
Some kind of cake would be nice.
We
take
need
our time.
A cake.
Maybe we should stretch it out into like a 4-hour episode. just take our time. Tons of tangents. No, we're not going to do that.
No.
We are going to have fun.
We are.
Wrapping this up. You do not want to miss it.
We'll probably do one other episode after.
Yeah.
Like a wrap-up episode.
And then there may be some others here and there thrown in. The feed is always live. Now it's easy to just sit down, record something if we think, and throw it out, whether it's recommendations or just catching up on things we're watching. Getting some guests on to talk about their favorite episodes. I don't know. Again, I don't want to end. I don't want to end on a sour note. I want to end talking about the good times, the best episodes.
We
might have to run a poll. We'll get the cousins to vote. Top 5 best, top 5 worst.
Yeah,
there's a lot of ideas. But we're definitely going to take a little bit of a break once it wraps up just to breathe and be like, oh my God, we did it.
We did it.
In the meantime, you can support the show. There's lots of ways. You can buy some swag from our TeePublic shop. You can buy us virtual coffees. It's like a virtual tip jar. All this stuff can be found on our website, and it all goes back into the show, helps support the show.
The website, again, is danceofjoypod.com, and from there you can link to all the places you can stream this podcast, and it would do us. We are at the end, but we still love all those likes and subscribes and the nice ratings and the nice reviews. Every little bit brings joy to our lives and helps us keep going. You can also leave us a voice message right from the main website page. Let us know, have you ever been in a hot air balloon ride? Do you think you could induce pregnancy that way? Did you ever steal a balloon from a fair, a hot air balloon from a fair? You can also send us all your thoughts in writing at danceofjoypod@gmail.com or via any of our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
The most important thing is to know how much helium to use when you are inflating balloons.
Don't let the balloon carry you.
You want to overinflate it. You don't want to underinflate it. It's got to have the right touch.
And know which rope to let go.
Now, the most important thing, of course, is to share this show with the hot air balloon enthusiast in
and
your
you
life.
don't have to stop sharing the show when we stop the show. The show lives on.
So next time you're at the state fair,
re-listen to it.
You can wear a T-shirt, Dance of Joy T-shirt, and spread the word around. The show will be around forever.
It's getting chilly where we are in Chicago now. It's great weather for a Dance of Joy hoodie. I'm going to pull mine out, wear it to the grocery store, advertise.
Links in the episode description, of course.
Yes, links in the episode description for all your Dance of Joy merch. Get them while it's hot. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Now we are so happy.
We do the dance of joy. Hey, 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 hey.